Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Anna Kasparian. She is the topic of the moment, the right-wing drift. So she did this interview on a right-wing podcast. So she went on this show, Julian Michaels. It's a right-wing show, and I am watching some of it right now. And before I watch it and actually see what's said, I wanted to get ahead of it and present to you what you should look out for, right? So if you want to do some kind of analysis of Anna Kasparian's intelligence and authenticity, her intentions, her strategy. If you're trying to assess essentially what she's up to, this is what I want you to look out for when you're watching the interview on the podcast. So Anna Kasparian is a professional. She's been doing independent media for quite some time now. So she should be very knowledgeable about how these things go. When a right-winger invites someone like her on the show, it is either to mock and go after her and try to dunk on her, right? So it's going to be a hostile type of an interview, and then they're going to, get all their audience members sitting in there, got him, right? They're going to do that. And then they're going to do clips afterwards, how they destroyed you. The other reason to invite someone like her, onto a right-wing show is to be used as a tool to validate the right-wing perspective. And unfortunately, because the conservative movement in this country has devolved into a cult, so it has nothing to do with conservatism, it's all about Trump. So a lot of the things that they're pushing for is nonsense. So if they're not bringing you on to fight you, they're bringing you on to validate nonsense, right? So with that being said, and she'll be aware of this is how it would go down if Anna Kasparian is a legit progressive, right? Contrary to the people that have been criticizing her, if she's a legit progressive and she's still, down for the cause or whatever, what she's going to do is on some level, she will actually, agree with the conservative host and point out, yeah, there are some problems on my side. And, I'm honest enough to admit that, some of the things that are being done are incorrect or misleading, blah, right? But that's not going to be the totality of her appearance if she's a legit progressive, right? So yes, you should expect to see that, right? If she's going to go there in good faith, looking at where she's been going, she is going to want to have some common ground. That's fine. I think that's going to be, you're going to see that regardless. The critical dividing line between Anna being a legitimate progressive and her being what people are saying she is in terms of the, grifting to the right type of thing, the dividing line will be if she also significantly and aggressively challenges a lot of the right-wing rhetoric, right? So I'm not saying it's got to be equally 50-50, but it should be pretty close to that, right? If she wants to try to reach out to conservatives who are reachable and try to pull them out of their bubble, right? She's going to want to have a significant amount of agreements and common ground, right? However, she could not in good faith, if she is a legitimate progressive and not doing a grift, could not in good faith go on a right-wing podcast and just be used as a tool, right? Because again, she's a professional. She knows how this stuff works. So she knows if she just goes on there and agrees, then she's just being a tool. She's helping to amplify the nonsense that they've been saying, right? Even this left-wing person agrees with us, right? We believe the left has just gone too far and they're insane and this and they're ruining the country and they hate America or whatever, right? And Anna doesn't have to say all those things, but by just going on the show and just, 90% or more of it is just like agreement and yeah, the left is crazy. Like if you are as a left winger gonna go on a right wing show and predominantly just nod your head, that ain't it. Either that's incompetence or you're grifting, right? So I would pay close attention to the interview and see if there's a significant sort of calling out of the right wing and the craziness that they've been doing and the bubble that they're in and the misinformation from their media, right? If you don't see a significant, effort on that side, but you see it all like, yeah, the left is crazy and the left this and that, and it's true what they're doing. Like if that's a majority of it, just sitting there nodding head and validating their points. Because remember, by her doing that and not also pushing back on the problems on the right, what she is doing is she's actually validating the other crazy things. Like she doesn't have to say some of the crazy things. She can just pick and choose some of the things that there might be some truth to, where the left might actually, have issues. If that's the only thing that she talks about, then the effect is going to be of validating the crazy stuff too, because you have people watching this right-wing stuff and they're talking all this crazy stuff, right? And then you have this left-winger that validates the general sentiment is that the left is just crazy and they're dishonest, right? And if that's all the stuff she's saying, even though she's not talking about the other stuff, she will sort of, in an indirect way, validate all the other stuff as well, right? Without actually going that far. That's going to be the effect of the right-wing audience watching the podcast. So again, pay close attention to if she aggressively calls out the right. If she's savvy and she's being slick, she's going to want to stick something in there that's kind of a passive call out of the right. Like she might say, yeah, the left does this and the left does that and whatever, and I see a lot of that stuff on the right as well, right? So detailing and being very visceral when talking about the left issues. But then when you mention that there's issues on the right as well, you don't want to go into details about, you don't want to talk about what they're actually doing, what they're actually saying, or who's doing anything, right? You just want to just say, yeah, and the right as well. So look out for that trick. If she's legit, you're going to see the same energy and the same level of detail about what's wrong with the left she's going to say about the right. So she's going to be saying stuff like calling out Matt Walsh, right? Calling out Ben Shapiro, calling out, Steven Crowder, calling out Tim Pool. I'm not saying all of them, but she's going to do things like name names, say the kind of stuff that they've been doing and how they've been lying about stuff, and how they, they distract people with nonsense, right? And how these elites in the Republican Party are getting all this power and the influencers are making all this money. Meanwhile, their audiences are being taken advantage of, right? If she's only going to give that kind of narrative in that kind of detail about on the left and not on the right, then that's how you know it's a grift and it's bad faith. And she really is doing this Dave Rubin. Maybe a more slick Dave Rubin. I think she's smarter than Dave Rubin, but a Dave Rubin nonetheless. So those are my thoughts. I just want to put that out there before my thoughts get tainted by me actually watching the interview. I haven't watched it. All I saw was the very beginning where she said something about Matt Walsh, that there's some true things in his film. I mean, that's already a bad start, but I don't want to watch any more of it to see which way she goes. But that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm going to go watch the podcast, and I'm going to look and see. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of nodding and agreement on right-wing stuff. Yeah, the left is crazy, right? We know that's going to be there. But I'm going to be specifically looking for how much time and effort is put into calling out the same things on the right. Because if the stuff that she's concerned about on the left is such a genuine issue for her, and she's so concerned about it, then she'll be equally concerned about the same kind of stuff happening on the right. So she's going to have the same level of interest and appetite for discussing the issues on the right as well. But if she only wants to talk about the left, that means she doesn't really care about what the left is doing. It's really just a grift. Anyway, this is the Debate Me channel. Debate Me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Now let's go watch the interview and see what's good.